At the end of February, a report from the Energy Department was leaked indicating that they believe with low confidence that the source of the pandemic was a lab leak from Wuhan. And this has brought renewed focus to the lab leak theory.
Yeah, this is something that we've assumed for quite some time. The question is, why did the Biden administration decide to release this information at this point? Let's dig up some details.
I'm Brendon Fallon.
And I'm Lee Smith. And we're
over the target. What is the origin of the coronavirus outbreak? I guess there still are two main theories. We have the lab leak origin, that the virus escaped or was released from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the preferred theory of the Chinese Communist Party and also certain parties within the US is the natural origin theory, that this virus somehow came about naturally and spread throughout the world in a natural mode.
Yeah, the problem for the natural origins theory was that there was never any evidence for it. And to show evidence, they would have needed a couple of different things, including the intermediate animal. Remember how the earliest theory was that COVID-19 had spread from bats, then jumped to a pangolin, and from there it jumped to human beings. The problem is, so that's one problem, that they never found that intermediate animal. There are a number of other problems as well, including the fact that by the time COVID-19 hit the human population, it was already doing a lot of damage to people, and that's not typically the way that viruses in the wild operate, where it has to go through several passages before it becomes really infectious and really dangerous for human beings. But that's not what happened to COVID-19. It hit the ground running. That's why many people believe, and that's why there's more evidence for the lab leak theory rather than the natural origins theory.
But Lee, despite the continually mounting evidence in support of a lab leak from the WIV, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the claims that this could have come about naturally, passing from an animal to an animal, haven't stopped. And the latest in this is a claim coming from Peter Daszak, a longtime collaborator with the Wuhan lab, that it came from a hedgehog. And interestingly, this is in collaboration with a Russian university. I'll just read a little bit from this article here. The study was authored by Daszak and by Russian doctors tied to two Russian state-run universities and to the Russian government's Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights Protection and Human Well-being. Now the attention could be shifting to hedgehogs.
Right, and there's reason, unfortunately, why both the United States government and the Russian government appear to be behind this study. Both are protecting their relationships with the Chinese Communist Party. And that takes us into a whole different thing, the idea that Joe Biden is funding a proxy war on Russia's borders, while both the Biden administration and the Vladimir Putin government are looking to protect the Chinese Communist Party from any sorts of accountability regarding the pandemic. Look, it's also very important, I think, to see this through a historical lens. And that is that part of Soviet biowarfare doctrine was the idea that you could release a pathogen without being held accountable, that no one would ever really know where it came from. Now look, we don't have the evidence right now before us to know whether the CCP released COVID intentionally or whether this happened by accident. I'm just saying it's an important thing to keep in mind going forward what Soviet biowarfare doctrine was. The other thing, and I'll just bring this up about Peter Daszak, as you mentioned, Brendon, I mean, this guy has a long relationship with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and he's done a lot of work in China. And we also know that Peter Daszak was on the ground floor of the cover-up protecting both the Chinese Communist Party and Dr. Anthony Fauci and other American officials from scrutiny. Remember, it was Daszak who put a whole bunch of people together in a group letter saying that no, the COVID-19 didn't come from a lab leak, it's all natural origins.
And of course, it was Peter Daszak, the head of EcoHealth Alliance, who led the investigation that was curiously in collaboration with the Chinese Communist Party into the lab leak theory. This was in early 2021. And not really all that surprisingly, the results that came through from that World Health Organization investigation was that a lab leak was unlikely the cause. And of course, this caused international uproar. People around the world looked at this and realized we're not going to get any genuine information coming through about the origin of the coronavirus pandemic.
I think the clearest evidence for the lab leak theory is the cover-up, right? The cover-up that Dr. Anthony Fauci was running, for which he got a number of different scientists to publish an article saying, no, this is COVID springs from natural origins. And remember that two of the people on that email chain, or two of the people who were in the meeting that Dr. Anthony Fauci put together, Kristen Anderson and Edward Holmes, believed that the early evidence showed it was almost certainly a lab leak. Very soon after the teleconference with Fauci, they turned around and published this crucial paper making the case for natural origins. So again, I really believe that that's extraordinarily telling evidence what was really going on.
And after this information came out from Fauci and his collaborators in the scientific community, that a natural origin was the most likely hypothesis, and after the WHO investigation with Peter Daszak suggesting lab leak was unlikely, there was the 90-day Biden administration investigation. They were really going to get to the bottom of what had happened, and the result of that was basically inconclusive as well. It was split. Half of the departments were saying lab leak, the other half was saying natural origin.
What the Biden administration did was they ended the State Department's investigation that was set up during the Donald Trump administration and Mike Pompeo's State Department. So what the Biden team did was they ended that investigation and they stood up their own investigation, multi-agency investigation. And as you say, Brendon, the purpose of it was to be inconclusive. Some agencies said, yes, we speculate with moderate confidence that it was a lab leak, and others said we speculate with moderate or low confidence that it has natural origins, but it concluded saying, we just won't know until the Chinese Communist Party decides to start talking about it and providing us with more information. So the purpose of that Office of the Director of National Intelligence report was to put this whole thing aside, to throw it in a closet and basically ignore the origins of COVID-19. And it made a lot of Americans wonder, what is the purpose of having intelligence services if they can't get to the bottom of something like the origins of COVID-19 that caused such incredible damage to the United States?
If you're enjoying this preview version of this over-the-target look at the COVID origin, you can find the full version on Epoch TV.
Watch us exclusively on Epoch TV, where you'll find not only Over the Target, but all your favorite Epoch TV shows, including Brendon Fallon's Vital Signs.